Hello world, and we are back. My name's Kyle Fischl, and this is going to be episode 122 of my poker vlog. For this one, I cover a 5-5 session at Orange City Racing and Card Club. A little bit bigger game, trying to up the stakes a bit on the channel. But before we get into the hands, quick reminder, if you're interested in playing the 1-3 meetup game, it'll be this Saturday. It is a great chance for any 1-2 players that are trying to up the stakes as well in the 2023 new year to take a shot, as well as your chance to make the videos. I might see you there. Otherwise, let's roll the tape. All right, so we buy into this 5-5 game for $1,200, a little bit more than I usually do at 2-5. It's a bigger game, $1,500 max. And on the first hand of note, with 3 limps, the cutoff raises to $15. I look down at pocket queens on the button. Definitely need more money in this pot. I raised to $65. As mentioned before, I want to have a wider, more frequent 3-betting range and percentage, so queens is obviously going to be in there. Well, only the cutoff, the initial raiser, calls, so we are going heads up to a flop of ace 6-3 2 hearts. Strangely enough, on this board, my opponent leads for $50. I mean, the ace-high board definitely favors the 3-better. I have all the best aces in range. I suppose he has like ace-5 and ace-4 more often than I do, but not really ace-6. So definitely a weird board to lead on into a 3-better, but...
Okay. Well, I'm still in.
Queens are just too strong to do anything else but call. Raise seems like an overplay. All better hands are probably continuing. All worse hands are probably folding. So I decide to make the call. Turn is the 3 of spades. Pretty safe card. And on this card, my opponent checks to me. Part of me thinks that he just has a hard draw. Part of me thinks he does have a weak ace. But in this particular board, in this hand, I think my hand functions best as checking and getting a showdown as cheaply as possible. So I check this one back. And the river is the deuce of clubs. So hearts brick, but if for some reason he had 4 or 5, that got there. That'd be pretty nasty. But when he checks to me, same thing as before, I don't see myself getting paid by worse. All better hands are probably going to call. I think this one has to just be a check back and see my showdown. And my opponent had queen 10 with just the queen of hearts. I guess just saw the ace-high board and took a stab and hoped I missed completely. But either way, his exact hand was not paying off any bets on future streets. Next hand of note. With 1 limp, a middle position player raises to $15. I'm going to 3-bet my ace-jack offsuit. With a widened 3-betting range, ace-jack is definitely going to be in there. So I raised to $65. On this hand, only the aggressor calls a second time. And on a flop of ace-8-6 rainbow, I'm going to continue small. This time I connect with the pair of aces, so when I have kings, queens, things like that, and I would bet small. Gotta bet small again when I actually have top pair good kicker. So I bet $50, and my opponent quickly folds. But 2 for 2 so far. For the next interesting hand, a middle position player raises to $25. It folds to me. I'm on the button with ace-king offsuit. This should definitely be in a 3-betting range 100% of the time. However, all 3 of these hands happened in like 30 to 45 minutes. So I don't really want to give my opponents the chance to 4-bet me light and somewhat force me to 5-bet get it in. Additionally, the opponent that opened this hand had been playing at the table for about 2 hours, and this is the first hand he's opened. So we're going to give him a little bit of credibility on this hand. Additionally, we want to add a few strong hands into our just calling range. So this time, ace-king is going to be a low frequency just call. Well, the small blind raises to 100. Didn't really expect that. And then the initial aggressor calls. Now I actually consider a back raise. I'm not sure how much it makes sense, but if I make it roughly $350, I think I have $200 of dead money out there that's up for the taking. I decide not to because this is also the first time in the entire session the small blind has 3-bet. And I play with this player a lot. I think he's pretty much relegated to 10s plus, and that's maybe 10s plus. It could be even as tight as queens plus. So I think we're pretty happy to just call this one and play ace-king in position. When we get a horrible raggedy flop of 9-7-5, 2 clubs, not really what I'm looking for. Hopefully this doesn't connect with anyone else and we can check through, get a free turn card. But the small blind leads out for $125. Initial aggressor folds. I don't really have a hand I can continue with.
No, not with a hand like that. Come on. Dare me. Go on. Bluff me. Come on.
So I fold. Opponent's nice enough to show pocket jacks. Very hard to keep an overpair when you play jacks. Next hand of note. An early position player raised to $15. 2 middle position players call, and I'm on the small blind with pocket kings. Hopefully all my 3-betting up to this point will induce lighter calls, maybe a light 4-bet, but kings is definitely going to be in our 3-betting range. I bump it up to $80. Well, the initial raiser and one of the callers decides to call a second time. The button decides to fold. So we're going 3 ways to a 3-bet pot. We already know it's going to be ace high. Just kidding, this one is queen 7-6 2 spades. There are some times where I'll take top pair and over pairs and turn them into check calls. This is not going to be one of those boards. Easily get paid off by a queen X, spade draws, maybe a light 8-9, and hopefully my 3-bet has priced out 6-7, pocket 6s, pocket 7s, and queens are pretty unlikely, as there was no 4-bet. Feeling very good about my position in hand at this point. I continue for a little bit under half pot, $150. If called, definitely bump it up on any safe turn cards. Well, the initial aggressor decides to call. All right, let's take this heads up. Nope, the second middle position player decides to call as well. So 3 ways to a turn card. Hopefully it's safe. 4 of diamonds, I would say, definitely fits the bill. Pretty much all the 2 pairs and straight possibilities should be ruled out by the pre-flop 3-bet. So we are going to bet again. I decided on a sizing of 400. At the time, I thought it was a big bet compared to the size of the pot. But really, I think I should be going a little bit bigger on this one. There's just so many draws out there that we need to defend against. I specifically have the king of spades and king of diamonds, so double blocking all the flush draws out there. Feels like I can go a little bit closer towards value. Definitely don't want ace queen to be able to wiggle out of this one for cheap. To my $400 bet, the initial aggressor counts it out and thinks for a while and doesn't have that much behind, so if he jams, I'd be pretty happy with that. But he eventually folds. An opponent who does have about $700-800 behind, which would be a pretty safe river jam, decides to call. So not sure exactly what I'm looking for. An offsuit deuce would be wonderful. Hoping for a safe-ish card. The river is the 8 of spades. Very bad card. The obvious flush draw gets there. If for some reason my opponent was playing 7-8 as a disbeliever, like 7-8 of diamonds, that just got there, which would be horrible. So on this card, I check. I actually think this is a mistake in hindsight. I think I need to bet.
Were me? I bet everything. And that's me. I'm an aggressive gambler. Mr. Vegas.
I can't let a queen get off the hook that easily, especially ace queen. And if my opponent has a flush, he's probably betting and I'm probably calling anyway. So definitely think I need to bet this river. But in the moment, I check. My opponent checks it back and he has 9-7 of diamonds. So I guess I'm thankful it's the 8 of spades instead of the 9 of spades. Could have just as easily been a card that helps him and goes the other way, but this was a pretty massive pot, and we are extremely happy to take this one down. And now the stack's looking pretty good, in for only 1,200. Definitely trying to get into some higher stakes games this 2023. Please take a moment and subscribe. Next interesting hand, an early position player raises to $25. I'm in middle position with ace-jack offsuit. Definitely, if I'm trying to widen my 3-betting range, this is going to be in there. I make it $65. Well, the big blind and the initial raiser decide to call, so we're 3 ways to a flop. I'm in position. To another pretty bad flop, 8-3-4, 2 clubs. Nothing really going for me here. I still have all the overpairs, but I would check overpairs some of the times on boards like this, as I very rarely have 8s in a 3-bet pot, and my opponents could have all the sets. So when it checks to me, happy to take a free card, maybe turn backdoor clubs or something I can bluff at. All that is unnecessary when the turn is the ace of diamonds. What a phenomenal turn. Happy to be playing in position where I get to see this card for free. When it checks for me a second time, I'm definitely going to bet here. Don't want clubs to get there for free. Want all pocket pairs like 9s, 10s, you know, maybe 8-9, something like that to pay off. Go for a little over half pot. Want to charge some of these hands, and if I was bluffing, I would go a little bit bigger too. If I had like king, queen, definitely going to bet it when I do have it. I bet $110 and both my opponents quickly fold. So that was a pretty good result. Nice to drag in 3-bet pots. They're a little bit bigger than single raised pots. The next hand is going to be no different. With a button straddle, there are 2 calls. The hijack raises to $25. Not going to be good enough. I have king jack offsuit. A hand I think functions better as a 3-bet than a call, especially when it's going to go massively multi-way if I call. So I 3-bet this one up to $70. The big blind, 1 limper, and the initial raiser calls. So we're going 4 ways to a 3-bet pot where we miss everything again. 7-5 deuce, 2 diamonds. When it checks to me to whiff this hard, there are some times where I bluff, try to rep the overpairs, but not into 3 people, so we're going to check this one back. Turn is the 8 of clubs. Still no magic like the last one where we just turn top pair. And the small blind leads out for 300. Honestly, probably bluffing. I don't see him connecting with this board either. Maybe he has like ace 4 or 2 diamonds or something like that. But either way, when the other players fold, I also cannot continue on this one. Which brings us to the next interesting hand. With 2 limps, I'm in the small blind. I have ace jack of spades. I raise to $30. Can just do single raise on this time. And when the board is 6-5-3, no spades at all. Definitely disappointed. Seem to be having some uncooperative flops today. I check as, again, not really the board that I'm going to be c-betting all too often, even with overpairs. And this time it checks through. The turn is the 10 of clubs. Doesn't help my hand, but honestly, ace high could be good here some of the time. So I check, hoping to get closer to showdown. Middle position checks, and then the later position player bets $60. This had been an extremely tight player at the table. He played a very small amount of hands. And the times he did, he like always had premiums. So I really don't see him connected with the 10 that often at all. I think he's just betting because it was checked to him twice. So I think this is time for a nice old raise bluff.
Come on. Go for it. Go for it. Yes, there we go. I'm in.
As if I had an overpair, I might play it the same way at some frequency. If I had ace 10, I might play it the same way. I don't think this opponent has anything. And he might even fold a weak 10 to a raise. The times I'm called, I still have an ace, a jack, and all the overcards as bluff outs. So we're just going to call this opponent on his shenanigans and just raise bluff to 175. And my opponent with his hand caught in the cookie jar, he just minkly folds. So that was a fun one. So with a button straddle, there are 3 limps. I'm in the cutoff with jack 10 of clubs. Gonna raise this one up, don't want to just limp. I raise to $50. Well, 2 of the limpers decide to call, so we're going 3 ways to a flop of ace queen 10 with 1 club. When my opponents check to me, I've pretty much only shown down premiums in the best hand so far. I don't really expect either of these 2 players to limp call with strong aces all that often. And I could have ace queen, ace king, king jack, everything good under the sun. So this is gonna be the time where I turn my 10s into a bluff. Even when I'm called, I can get a king or a club to continue betting. And if I got a queen or a 10 to fold, that'd be a pretty good result. So I wager $65, and this bet gets it done. Everyone folds. Not really making hands, but still making some results here. Next interesting hand. With 1 limp, I look down at ace queen in late position. Not gonna limp this one. I raise to $30. The button, the big blind, and the limper calls. So we're going 4 ways to a flop of king 10-8 rainbow. When it checks to me, similarly to the last hand, I have ace king in range, pocket kings. My opponents really can't. And on this one, I have a gut shot and an overcard. And with a gut shot and overcard, I think it's strong enough to bet, retain the betting lead, play in position, and hope to just take it down now. Otherwise, there's plenty of turn cards that give me playability, pairs, and straights. And I have a pretty solid image right now, so we're definitely going to c-bet on this one. I bet $60, half pot. Think I would do this with king, queen, ace, king. Button folds. Happy I'll get to play in position. An early position player calls. Pretty disappointed in that. And then another player raises to 160. Well, I guess it's my turn to get caught with my hand in the cookie jar. You know, when you play higher stakes, some of the people have some sneaky moves. This is going to be one that we just let go. Other player folds as well. So nice hand to the check raiser. And a final hand of note. I'm in the small blind with queen jack offsuit. I open up to $35. 3 different players decide to call, so we're going 4 ways to a flop of jack 3 deuce, 2 spades. Pretty phenomenal board for me. Haven't really flopped much today, so it's nice to flop top pair. I'm going to bet here, hope to thin the field. Weaker jacks and medium pocket pairs can pay me off, as well as flush draws, so I bet $75. The early gun player is the only caller, so we're going heads up to a turn card. which is the 10 of clubs. Not my favorite, all things considered. Jack 10 is a hand I'm hoping I'm against here some of the time. But this opponent has also bet a high frequency when checked to. So this is going to be a time where I check to him and just plans to check call down, try to punish his aggression. But when I check, he checks it back pretty quickly, so assuming he's pretty weak. The river is the Jack of Hearts. Now I think the hand is very interesting. I do have trips with a decent kicker, but I have so much of the board locked up, I'm not sure exactly what I can get value from. The spade draw missed. Do I check it to my opponent, hope he bets, and go for a check raise? Or do I bet and not give this the chance to check through? It would be disastrous if my opponent checked back a 10, maybe pocket 8s, maybe even ace-high spades. So I'm going to bet super small here, try to get crying calls on the weakest part of his range. I bet $75 again, and he puts in 125. So I'm guessing even he didn't think that I would bet this small in this river, and he's just going to snap call. At Orange City, if the chips put in are more than half the initial bet, it constitutes a raise, so this will count as 150 from him. You can make an argument for 3-betting on this one, especially when he's so eager to put it in like that. But I personally just think that's bad manners. I think this opponent just kind of made a mistake. And I guess there is a possibility that he just has pocket 3s or pocket deuces and wants it to look as spewy as possible. So either way, I'm just going to call this, and I'll even show first, as I really just think it's a mistake. And happy to take down another pot at the end of the day.
Jack 10.
Into this 5-5 game, we are into the game for $1,200, out for $1,739. That is a profit of $539 across 4.5 hours, equates to $119 an hour, or 24 big blinds an hour. Yeah, for this session, I think I played a little bit better than I have previously. I like that I'm pretty much 3-betting or folding a lot of the time. Some low frequency just calls, but for the most part, we're really upping the frequency like we'd like to. Hope to get into some bigger games moving forward. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.